If you're a people pleaser, you will want to listen to this episode. People pleasing is not an inherent, natural, authentic, and intuitive behavior. It is a learnt behavior that is learnt through repeated conditioning and trauma. You may think it's just the way you are, but it is as a result of your conditioning, and it requires a deep reprogramming to heal it so that you can step into your authenticity. This season of Reconditioned is made possible thanks to HIFAS TERRA, and I'm a little bit obsessed with them and I want to tell you why. So if you follow me on social media, you'll know I talk about mushrooms a fair bit. Yes, I am that wild, and no, not the psychedelic kind. Not this time anyway. I've known about the crazy health benefits of medicinal mushrooms for a while, especially after watching Fantastic Fungi on Netflix, but I never found a brand that I fully trusted. And then I came across HIFAS TERRA, and I am not exaggerating when I say it has been life-changing. They have medicinal mushroom products to support autoimmune diseases, allergies, hormonal imbalances, gut health, brain function, emotional well-being, musculoskeletal issues. The list is endless. And because they're one of the few mycotherapy companies to actually carry out clinical trials on their products, they've been able to develop their Onco range, specifically for cancer. And potentially my favorite, they have products for children's immune systems and the gut-brain axis. Great for ADHD, sensory issues, and gut support. These have got my kids through this winter of illness, and they've made a huge difference to my son's sensory challenges. I'm swearing by them. HIFAS TERRA mushrooms are not only certified organic, but they use the fruiting body of the mushroom as opposed to the root, which even the so-called top mycotherapy companies are not doing, because it's more time-consuming and more expensive, but HIFAS are. Spoiler, you get more benefits from the fruiting body, which is one of the reasons HIFAS products are more effective. The concentration and content of their products are also much higher than standard brands, and the company are constantly striving for quality, effectiveness, and safety, putting over 60% of their profits back into research. These products have changed my life, and I want you all to have access to this level of healing. So visit hifasterra.co.uk, that's HIFASDATERRA.co.uk, and use code Lauren15 for 15% discount. Thank you so much to HIFAS TERRA. Hi, I'm Lauren Vaknine, and you're listening to the Reconditioned podcast. I created this podcast following my journey from severe disability since infancy to complete wellness, as a way to share my passion of healing the whole self. Because I learned in my own journey to wellness and through my 2 decades in the wellness industry that it makes no difference what you're here to heal. It all requires the same whole person approach. We tackle everything from trauma, health optimization, and neuroplasticity to manifestation, holistic parenting, and everything in between to help you create an optimized life of well-being, abundance, self-mastery, and purpose. You're not meant to live a life of stagnation, and you're not meant to be just fine. So hang around and let me help you recondition your life back to wholeness. Okay, welcome back to Reconditioned, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to dive straight in today because I know that so many people are going to resonate with this one, especially women, but I also know a lot of men who will resonate with people pleasing. And actually, maybe they don't even realize that's what they're doing. If this is you, I hope you will listen to this episode and, get those wheels in motion to start realizing what is going on and that these behaviors are actually people pleasing. So we know when we speak about the trauma responses, we think of fight, flight, and freeze. But how often have you thought of fawn? Fawning is the 4th and usually very overlooked trauma response. So what does it look like? Fawning is essentially people pleasing or friending. It's where we teach children to override their emotions or intuition, where they compromise their own authenticity, their own truth, and their own needs to make others feel comfortable. It's when they hug someone they intuitively actually don't want to hug because parents told them, go give Uncle Harold a hug, please. Or where they eat past the point of being full because they've always been taught to finish everything on their plate. Or when they're told to stop crying because they're told, don't cry. We teach them how to break their own boundaries and appease us and the customs of the time and what society expects of us and our children. Because if our children behave in the way that's accepted, we feel more accepted and more acceptable and more valid. So let's look at this as us, not our children, because I'm aware that not everyone here will have children, but let's look at this as us as children. So how many of you can relate to being the good girl or the good boy? It's what I call the good girl syndrome, or good boy, whatever it is to you. I'll just relate it right now to girl for the sake of ease. So if you were always told you were a good girl, oh, she's such a good girl, she's so easy, she just gets on with it, she just plays without bothering us, she doesn't ask for too much, oh, she's such a good sleeper, oh, this one really irks me because my kids are notoriously bad sleepers. Are they less good because of this? Should I value them less? Why is the first thing people say when they meet your new baby, is he good? What does that mean, is he good? He's 6 months. Well, does he sleep? Irks me a lot. And another one is she never makes a fuss. She just doesn't, she doesn't make a fuss, such a good girl. So how this would play out in you based on your conditioning or your trauma, because anytime you're taken out of your authenticity by conditioning, that is little t trauma, then you'd grow up always trying to not make a fuss. So if something happens at your kid's school, you don't want to speak out to the school for fear of being seen as the mum who makes a fuss. Something is wrong at work. You don't tell your boss because you don't want to be seen as the colleague who makes a fuss. You're the one who keeps the peace. And it's really important for your sense of self-worth that you hold on to this identity of good girl, because without it, if you make a fuss, if you're not people-pleasing, who's going to accept you then? Because your upbringing taught you that in order to be accepted, we don't make a fuss. We behave as the good girl. Now, you might be listening to this thinking, still, I have lovely parents. They didn't mean this. It wasn't their fault. Of course it wasn't. So much of this work that we do, this inner growth work, is about recognizing stuff from our childhood. It is not about putting blame on our parents. They were just operating from their own trauma responses, right? So we have to forgive them. Part of growth is actually taking responsibility for anything that is going on with us in our internal reality and not putting that blame on anyone else, regardless of whether it was them that created it for us. Growth means taking responsibility for our own growth, not putting that blame on someone else. Our parents were operating from their own trauma responses. They believed they'll only be accepted if people see them as parents who know how to control and discipline their children into submission. I used to see this in my husband when our kids were around his grandparents. Now, they're edging towards 100. They're from a very different time. So are we going to blame them? No, that's how society at the time taught them to believe children should behave. They should be seen, not heard. So my husband used to get more stressed about the kids and how they behaved when they were with his grandparents, because he knew how it was being seen from his grandpa's perspective based on his grandpa's own conditioning. And he doesn't want to be judged as someone with feral kids. Now, they're not feral, they're just kids. Well, they are a little bit feral, I guess. But back in the day, that wasn't acceptable. So we're all operating from these behaviors that are nothing more than trauma responses. Now, they didn't choose to do it, but regardless, it created a behavior pattern and a belief system in you that isn't your own. It's not authentic to you. It's a learnt behavior, a trauma response. This is the fawn response. It's the fourth trauma response alongside fight, flight, and freeze. And it's integral for our growth and our healing for us to understand the importance of healing it. Why? Well, because if you're fawning all the time, i.e. people-pleasing, you're not operating from authenticity. And as you probably know, if you've been here a while and listened to this podcast or done my academy or any of my work, there is no manifesting high vibrational situations into your life while you are operating from a place of inauthenticity. Here's the thing about stress and anxiety. Our bodies have not evolved to manage the level of stress we're faced with today, which means that we are constantly in fight or flight mode. And you'll feel this through anxiety and overwhelm, and also through your chronic health problems. Modern life breeds stress, which breeds dis-ease. But if we want to be well, we have to lessen that stress ourselves. Now, I've personally been reducing my stress and overwhelm for 9 months now using the SENSATE. It's a small palm-sized device that sends infrasonic waves through the chest in order to activate the vagus nerve and calm the autonomic nervous system, which is the body's command center. You use it while playing the specially composed hemispheric audio within the app, and the majority of people report feeling calmer after only a short session. Everyone I lend it to ends up buying one because of how much calmer they instantly feel. Now, I'm particularly recommending the SENSATE to anyone who suffers from anxiety and wants help calming the nervous system, those who want to deepen their meditation practice, and people who are looking for ways to be calmer and more grounded. You can get £30 off the SENSATE by visiting getsensate.com and using code Lauren30. That's GETSENSATE.com, Lauren30. Thank you so much to SENSATE for partnering with Reconditioned. Now back to the episode. Now, on the flip side of what you were shown was the acceptable way to behave, being good, giving people what they want regardless of how it may affect you, then of course you start judging the opposite. So anyone who does stand in their truth, any parent who does call up the school when something's wrong, or maybe in your words, causes a fuss, is wrong. Or, she's always got something to say, doesn't she? The kids are fine. She should just leave it alone. They're fine, aren't they? She keeps talking like that. The school are really not going to like her. And then how are they going to treat her child? This is shadow, my friends. That is literally shadow 101. When the things you were shown were not acceptable growing up are the very things you now judge in others. Not because you truly believe that they're bad, if you got down to your true authenticity, but because it's what you've been shown is wrong, and therefore you judge it in others. Now, of course, fawning can be as a result of little t trauma, but big T trauma also. So if you were raised in an unstable home, say with an alcoholic parent or a parent who was unstable for any reason, and remember, stability and security are in the 4 S's of positive attachment, right? So we've got the seen and soothed, which perhaps could fall in most situations, not all, under little t trauma, because if no one's really kind of seeing your true authenticity, that wouldn't be like a big trauma like abuse. But children need to absolutely feel safe and secure in order to thrive and grow into secure, well-rounded adults. So if your upbringing was unstable, you'd maybe have chosen behaviors that kept the peace. Because in that high anxiety situation you were constantly existing in, it was in your best interest for things to be as peaceful as possible. Maybe one wrong comment, one wrong move could upset the balance and cause a cascade of bad things to happen. Or if there was abuse and you knew it was always on the cards, but you just didn't know when, you'd choose to behave as the good girl as much as you possibly could, because in your mind as a child, you believed that maybe there was a modicum of hope that the abuse wouldn't happen if you just behaved better, if you were better, if you tried harder to be good. So whether your people-pleasing was from big or little t trauma, it translates into adult life and how we play it out. And it is very, very real. Now, fawning also causes anger and deep internal resentment. And I say deep internal resentment because usually people-pleasers, people who fawn, do not express their anger because they've learnt not to. There is no one in this world other than the real spiritual masters who've reached that level of self-mastery who can go through life with no anger. So whether or not you are expressing it, it is there. And here's the thing about expressing it, here's the thing about not expressing it. It's not there. You're not less of an angry person than the person who expresses it, which maybe you see yourself to be in superiority because of it. You're not superior to them because you hold yours in. Yours is just being held in your energetic body, and it will present itself in other ways, like illness or anxiety. because thoughts and feelings hold vibration. They have to manifest into something. Energy transmutes into matter. We know this. So whether they manifest into matter through words and actions of anger, or they manifest by metastasizing into matter, they will find a way to manifest into something. And this is where sacred rage comes in. Sacred because it has a purpose, clean anger, where it seeks to resolve, not harm. You are allowed to feel anger, my friend. The trick is to allow that anger to have a purpose and know how to process it. Anger is unclean and unhealthy for you when you're just angry all the time, acting it out through these kind of microaggressions in your behavior, or even just the way you speak. Like maybe you just speak quite angrily at things and things annoy you in everyday life. When you're acting like this, you're not processing it. You're just allowing it to be the driving force, the master, where you have no mastery over your emotions. So there has to be a balance. You need to bring in sacred rage, enough of it to be angry that you've never been allowed to be angry, and then find ways to express it positively in a way that doesn't hurt you or anyone else. Because it needs to come out of you. One of the most positive ways to do this is through journaling. So taking your journal to get as angry and intense as you need to, as often as you need to, for as long as you need to. Like maybe you need to write angry shit in your journal every day for 6 months for this to work. You can actually check out my free journaling course. I've got a free journaling course, which will be in the show notes and also on my Instagram. You can click on my link tree. It's over there. It's completely free. It's just to help you make journaling work for you. It's a free mini course, but it's very, very comprehensive and expansive. So do check that out if you haven't started your journaling work yet, or even if you have. So moving anger through and out the body is another way to express this. And this is where movement helps, right? Which is what tribal people have known since day dot. So ecstatic dance, whether that's a dedicated ecstatic dance party and they exist to help us feel, or just in your bedroom or your kitchen, high vibe music on, dancing with the intention of moving emotion through and out your body. And breath work can help move emotion through the body too. And it's super powerful. And so can somatic body work, which you can find a practitioner for. And you can, of course, just hit your pillow too and work out in the gym or walk really fast. Anything at all. Even better, do all of these things. Make it all work, as long as you do it with the intention of moving the emotion through and out your body. Expressing sacred rage or clean anger in order to rid yourself of this good girl-ism, this fawn response that has seen you please everyone but yourself and act in ways completely inauthentic to you for most of your life. That has to end now. If you want to manifest anything, a better career, weight loss, health, the healthy relationship, the improved relationship, pregnancy, purpose, financial abundance, whatever it is, it's much harder to come by when you're operating inauthentically, because inauthenticity has a low vibrational frequency. So try taking to your journal to begin this process so you can start calling yourself, as Kim on my team now says, a recovering people pleaser. Okay, that's it from me today. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. If you haven't yet heard, I have just released a free journaling course. If you've always wanted to try journaling but just don't know where to start, or you've been hearing how powerful journaling can be but you just don't understand why, or you want to create a daily practice that enhances your life but you just need a little support in doing that without it costing you anything, this course will do all that for you. It is packed with content that will show you just why journaling is important, how to do it, where to start, and how to make it work for you. It is completely free, and that is as a way for me to pay it forward, because journaling really is one of the most integral parts of my growth practice, and I want to give that to you. All you have to do is click on the link in the show notes to get the course sent directly to your inbox. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Reconditioned. I am honestly so grateful to each and every person that tunes in. Thank you also for taking responsibility for your own well-being. You should know that just by choosing to listen to podcasts like this that further your well-being, you're moving more deeply into abundance consciousness. Now, don't forget, I have a bunch of free resources over at laurenvakneen.co.uk, as well as every recommendation you could ever need in regards to your well-being on the LV Recommends page, all categorized for your ease. Thank you also to our sponsors. These episodes would not be possible without them, so make sure to check them out and get some pretty awesome discounts on the show notes. And of course, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast so that you can get updated each time a new one is released. Thank you. I appreciate you. Reconditioned is proud to be working with Women for Women International, a charity that supports women survivors of war in 8 war-torn countries around the world. You can help a woman survivor of war transform her life today by visiting womenforwomen.org.uk/donate.